Do push-ups hurt your shoulders? Well, if so, there's two reasons why. One, you're probably doing them wrong. In fact, I'm doing them wrong right now. You probably don't know the difference. And two, you're probably doing the wrong variation for you. Let's go ahead and fix both right now. First, let's tackle the number one mistake that people make when doing the push-up that causes that shoulder pain in the first place. And that is flaring your elbows out and internally rotating your shoulders. Let me explain why this is so important. When we flare our elbows out like this, as we bring our chest down to the ground, it requires a ton of flexibility in the pec muscles to be able to come down without internally rotating your shoulders. So what most people do is as they bring their arm down, their shoulder rolls forward, right? Their arm doesn't actually move down like this, but if I were to show you what this looks like inside the shoulder capsule, it's an internal rotation causing the shoulder to be in a very vulnerable position. And so if we want to fix that, we want to be able to put the arm in a position where it has more range of motion. And for most people, that means taking the elbow from being a 90-degree angle to the torso and bringing it down to a 45-degree angle or even less closer to the body. Because when the elbow is closer to the body, it doesn't require as much flexibility in the chest, and we're able to pull the elbow back behind our body and come all the way through full range of motion in the push-up without internally rotating the shoulders. Another thing to consider as you're doing the push-up is as you bring your arms down, imagine that you're spiraling your hands outward like this. This is going to pull the shoulders back and down into a good position, protecting your shoulders and also encouraging you to bring your elbows down towards your ribs to protect the shoulders and go through a full range of motion without putting yourself in a compromising position. So those two things should fix that shoulder pain that you're experiencing in the push-up. But again, you might not have the right variation for you, because if you're doing a push-up that's too hard for you, you won't be able to adjust your form and be able to make these two changes. So instead, try out one of the variations I'm going to show you next and do the one that you feel like you can do with perfect form for at least 10 repetitions. Let's dive in. All right, for the first variation, the level one, we're gonna do a seated thigh push-up. So you're gonna come to the edge of your seat, you're gonna have a nice wide stance, you're gonna place your hands on top of your knees like this. Now, just like we talked about, you're not gonna let your elbows flare up or out like this. Instead, we're gonna keep the elbows down to our sides, and we're gonna imagine spiraling the hands out like this. Now, what you're gonna do is bow forward as you're pushing into your thighs, and then press your hands into your thighs and extend your arms coming back to the top position. It's totally fine if we don't come all the way to extension, because right now what we're doing is practicing a push motion with good form. We're trying to activate the muscles of the lats, the serratus, and the chest all at the same time. So again, if you drop your elbows down, you spiral your hands out and start to squeeze those lat muscles as you do this, you're gonna put your shoulders in a much safer and eventually much stronger position. Now practice this move, and if this feels easy and everything feels like you can do it with good form for at least 10 repetitions, then let's go to the next variation. The second variation for level two, we're gonna do a high chair push-up. So you're gonna need a nice sturdy surface that's just underneath your waist height, okay? What you're gonna do is place your hands on that surface. If it hurts your wrist, you can turn your fingertips to the outside like this. Now first, we're gonna assume a good plank position. So beyond the shoulders, we wanna make sure our core is nice and strong. So don't let your butt stick out like this, and don't let your hips sag down like this. Instead, we squeeze our glutes and core, and we maintain this for every push-up variation that we practice. From there, just like we talked about, you're gonna spiral the hands outward, trying to turn the elbow pits towards the sky to pull the shoulder blades back and down and start to feel those lats and serratus muscles working. Then we're gonna drop the elbows towards our ribs and practice our push-ups in the high chair position with good form, making sure that our shoulders feel amazing. Now, if you can do this with perfect form for 10 repetitions, then you can move on to the next variation. For our third variation, level three, we're gonna turn the chair around and do a low chair push-up. So same thing, hands on the chair, or if you need to, turn your fingertips to the outside, come back to that stable plank position with the glutes and the core nice and tight. And the same thing as always, we're gonna spiral the elbow pits forward, the arms out, feel those lats and the muscles of your core and serratus firing, and then drop the elbows back towards the ribs and practice your push-ups in a low chair position in a slow and controlled fashion, just like this. Now, if you can do this for 10 repetitions with perfect form without flaring your elbows out and losing your form, then you can move on to the next variation. Okay, for this fourth variation, level four, we're gonna do a half kneeling push-up. What that means is we're gonna do a regular push-up on the way down, drop our knees, and then push up on our knees on the way back up to help strengthen those muscles while we're practicing good form. So just like before, hands go on the ground, we're gonna turn those elbow pits forward, we're gonna find our perfect push-up position with the glutes tight and the core tight, right? From there, we're gonna slowly come down, dropping the elbows towards the ribs until our chest comes down to the ground. Then we're gonna drop the knees, squeeze the glutes again, and press up in a kneeling position. Then we straighten the knees, we practice again. Slowly coming down, dropping the elbows back, repatterning the form, drop the knees, press up, and slowly come back to the start position. Now, just like before, if you can do 10 of these in a slow and controlled fashion with perfect form, keeping the elbows low and the arms spiraled out like this, then it's finally time to move back up to the regular push-up and practice that one with good form as well. Hey, if you want to learn how to do other moves with perfect form and find the best variation for you, well, then click the link below and I promise you won't regret it. Otherwise, if you want more beginner exercises, check out this video right here.